Breit. So we were jamming out to a little bit of a deep cut from Slayer, a track called Scrum off of Diabolus and Musica. And then the last track we heard, because I always try and, give shout outs and give love to the local bands, we opened the set with Oozing Wound, and then the last track we just heard was When the Ice Giant Slayed All by Lair the Minotaur off of War Metal Battle Master. Those are like the three greatest lines ever, right?
We're never lack of good titles here on the Steve Breit Show.
No. I try and bring all the good stuff to everybody on the weekends. But no, this leads us into, like I said, the feature of this week's episode. And this is a show that I've wanted to talk about for the last month because it was so fucking good. So we're going to get into it. This will be a review of the Slayer Farewell Tour stop that played in Chicago, down in Tinley Park at, what are they calling it this week? The Tweeter Center,
Tweeter Center,
World Music Theater, Guaranteed Rate Field. I don't know.
It's like the Fifth Pavilion, whatever they call that now.
Yeah, the big outdoor amphitheater that has the not ideal lawn seats down in Tinley Park. And because they don't have ideal lawn seats, I went and got myself pavilion seats. But no, this is a great show. It was over 20,000 people showed up at that show. That was a crowded show. It was a great show. Slayer came, and they set up an excellent night with the lineup that they had brought. I had actually seen all the bands on the set list except for Behemoth. So that was a real treat for me. It was something that I was really looking forward to. So we'll get into them in a little bit, but the evening opened up with Testament, then it went to Behemoth, then it went to Anthrax, then Lamb of God, and then finally Slayer. So Testament, they've been around since late 80s, I believe 86 was their first record, so they're right in the pocket of right when thrash metal was really kind of in its prime and kind of had established itself throughout the early 80s with the early Metallica releases, the early Slayer releases. Then you had a bit of the crossover with bands like DRI and Stormtroopers of Death. And then, like I said, by the late 80s, the genre had kind of solidified, and you get bands like Testament that came out that really were taking Testament and let's say like Pantera. Those were bands that were really taking what the early thrash bands had kind of formed and really honed it down. And, that I think they're definitely one of those bands that they're a journeyman metal band. I've seen them tons of times over the years, and they always put on a solid show. They understand what the fans want to hear. Their kind of peak was in that late 80s, 90s era, and they give it back to the fans, which I appreciated. They put on, I think they played like 6 or 7 songs, most of them from that era, and really solid and tight. So I very much enjoyed Testament, and they're one of those bands that Slayer digs, and they bring them out as an opener a lot. I think I've seen Testament more opening for Slayer than headlining themselves or
really?
playing in other festivals. Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, there's like a consistent background for them, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting if you look at bands over the years, and I'm sure it's the same way in like the hip hop community, but if you think back in the day, the like bands like Depeche Mode, who they're a pretty big band back in the day. Mm-hmm. They would bring out like this band called Nitzareb, which was an English industrial band, and deep in that industrial scene, but they were the consistent opener for Depeche Mode for years. And you think back to Chicago in the late 90s, early 2000s, right when Disturbed, if you recall them,
Yeah.
Once they kind of blew up and got big, they would always bring around this other, great local band called From Zero, and they were kind of the eternal openers for Disturbed for a long period of time until they'd kind of broken out and got a major label deal themselves.
I mean, that's a tough spot, especially I think more so in the rock space. like to keep energy in a crowd of unknown band. I think it might be easier, like not to belittle rappers or DJs or anything like that, but I think it's a little bit easier to get a crowd going if you have certain theatrics at your fingertips, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hit a certain song, you can do this, you do that. But I think in a rock situation, I do feel like you have to really, if you're a good opener, that's like a thing. I think I was talking to Alex White about that recently from White Mystery, and she was saying like, you know, they made a lot of money over the years, and just like got a lot of gigs just because it was like, you know, they were just good at opening. Keep the energy up, you know. They don't need to like steal the thunder from anybody. And
yeah,
you know,
I think it takes a special mindset to be, you know, in that space. And it's like, you know, you're the opener, you have a role to play, and you know, you're not the headliner, but your job is to get that crowd amped up. Yeah. And I've seen great openers. I've seen openers who thought they should be the headliners, and the performance came off that way. And
yeah. I mean, I'll say that the worst opener I ever saw was Chance, actually.
Really? Who do you open for?
This was 2013, I think, right after Acid Rap came out, or right before, maybe. It was like right around that time, that spring. And Rocky Fresh was like the big rapper from Chicago. He had just signed to Maybach Music, Rick Ross and all that. And he had all these great mixtapes, and he was the buzzing guy. And he had a show that day, and Chance came out and opened for him. And it was at Bottom Lounge, ironically enough. And I'll never forget, because Chance came out, you know, the story is much longer, I'll keep it short. He came out basically, it was the first time he'd done like the whole Chance steps, you know, like the big steps, and then like the mic drop. And like pick back up, and like it was the first time he did a good ass intro off like the coming Acid Rap.
His choreography was really,
it was the first time he kind of put it all together like that. And then I literally watched the whole crowd leave after he was done.
Oh,
Rocky Fresh did not have that same energy. Like his energy's way below what Chance's was. So it was like nobody stuck around to see a guy kind of like go back and forth across the crowd and rap.
Yeah.
And I never forget that. That was like, you know, nothing against Chance. He's a great artist, but it was just like he was kind of killed that opening spot. It was too hard.
You know, to that point, I think it was last spring at South by. I was at a Chicago hip hop showcase, and Kwaku Collins kind of did the same thing. Where he came on, he came on with an early afternoon set and really kind of owned that space, and everybody after him was just like, but Kwaku. So I could feel it.
That's kind of what South by's there for too. You know, it's like you gotta go show up some people at South by a little bit.
Yeah. You gotta put your foot down and show you deserve to be there, and, and he definitely did it.
Came out with a new song too. Not that we're different show, but shout out Kwaku and the Close Sessions family.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's gonna be playing in Chicago pretty soon. I think I saw.
Yesterday.
Oh, was it yesterday?
Yeah,
okay.
The Dark Matter Coffee had a.
There you go. I remember seeing something on my my events calendar.
Yep.
But yeah, let's get back to the rock.
Jump into the Slayer.
Let's dive into some Testament. So, like I was saying, you know, Testament is a real good band that knows how to open for an exciting show, and I think they also know what to present musically to their fans and the fans that are not necessarily there to see them. So the track we're going to be listening to is called Into the Pit, off of their second album called Off the New World. And this is I think late 80s thrash in its prime.
Let's check it out.
Let's do it.
This is Mild Sauce Radio. You listen to the Steve Breit Rock Discovery Show.
All right, we're back. So that was Testament with Into the Pit off of the New World album from late 80s. I believe that was 89. So you can kind of tell a little bit in the production values, but I would say that, structurally that is a just pure thrash metal song.
Yeah, like it's kind of, that'd be like the dictionary definition, I think.
Absolutely. And I think kind of coming from that, we move into the next band, and if you want to advance our audio visuals, this is
my fault. The visuals.
No, all good.
Got a lot going on back here.
There we go.
Oh, it's the best visual.
There we go. I figured you'd appreciate this. Now, this is something that that I definitely did not expect, but our next band, Behemoth, they are from Poland, and Chicago, being a very large Polish mecca, brought the Poles down to the south side, and there was a lot of Poland flags waving when this band was playing.
I'd started a Polish club when I was in high school.
Oh, really?
Just as like one of the something to throw on my resume, for college. Mm-hmm. And I think I had like 2 meetings, so it wasn't like a thing. But because of that, somebody bought a Polish flag and would bring it to every game I played. So football, basketball, whatever, I'd have like a Polish. You'd see like orange and black flags from my high school, and then just a single
and then
red,
white.
It was ridiculous. I don't know.
That's awesome.
It made no sense.
But no, these guys, this was the one band on the bill that I had not seen before. So I was really excited to get there and make sure I did not miss this set. And true to form, they put the show on. It was really good. So unlike Testament, Behemoth is Polish, more that theatrical, Eastern, Northern European, so like in the black metal vein.
Okay.
So they were definitely a theatrical band, to say the least.
Like, do they have like big sets? Like
they had it was an elaborate set. It was the pyrotechnics. They're one of those bands that paints the faces.
Okay.
So they really kind of came
Polacks.
out. And yeah.
Wearing socks and sandals and shit.
But no, they brought it, and they brought the speed and the energy of the evening. That was indicative of the evening. Like I said, it wasn't too far off base from Testament or the other bands, but it's definitely in that new style.
That's cool. So would you say they're like a newer band that's coming up out of Poland?
They've been around, I want to say, at least like 15 years.
Oh shit! Okay.
They're a 21st century band.
Yeah,
I think they really made their bones in the 21st century, whereas I think a lot of the other bands on this set list are more 80s, 90s in their heyday.
Got it.
But this band was really good, really tight, and it was interesting to see a band that structures songs very theatrically and how that comes across in a live performance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does a band keep a crowd in the ebbs and flows of a more grandiose kind of spectacle, let's say?
Yeah.
And I think they did a very good job, and again, did the role of opener very well. They were entertaining, they were engaging, they were tight in what they did. They played a variety throughout their career, and we can get into their song. And this is Behemoth. And this is Of Fire and the Void off of their album Evangelon, which was a pretty big release for them.
All right, let's check this out. This is Behemoth, the Polish band.
So I can stay the end and move aside. With what I don't have left, injecting terror into my veins. With love accepted, with when resurrected, is the embrace of God, even profound.
Mild Sauce live weekends. We've been jamming out to Behemoth as part of that Slayer farewell tour that we've been talking about this last hour. So, like I said, nice juxtaposition in terms of stylistics, but still in that heavy, aggressive vein of that evening. So, very good addition to the set list. I appreciated seeing them. That was a good, definitely a good stuff. So, getting back to the next song, you know, this will be the namesake of the beer we're jamming out to this afternoon. Bless you.
Excuse me, Anthrax, you know?
Yep. So Anthrax, you know, this one held a special place in my heart. Actually, I've seen Slayer more, but thinking back in time, I saw Anthrax for the first time before I saw Slayer for the first time when I was in high school. So it was very good seeing them again. I've seen them, like I said, not as many times as Slayer, but at least 4 times over the last several years. And again,
quite a bit. See him quite a bit.
Yeah, I've seen him a bunch.
Like more than you see some cousins.
Yes, it's certainly, especially this year. Yeah, but no, they were great. And again, this is, you know, a case study in how to be a great opening band.
Becoming a theme.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and obviously this is why these guys were on, you know, the bill for the evening. But Anthrax came out, and, you know, this is one of those bands that has had, what, three lead singers at least over the course of the years. And, you know, with the change of singers brings a change of sound, a change of stylistics. And this tour, they were touring with Joey Belladonna, which was their big singer in like the mid 80s to early 90s. I think the influence of Seattle and the grunge sound really kind of steered the band, in my opinion, into an odd musical direction for several years. They got rid of Joey. They got John Bush, who was the lead singer of Armored Saint.
When was this all going on? Because, like, not to be the ignorant rock person in the room, but, like, Anthrax for me, and I'm sure this also, you know, my role is to speak for all the ignorant
Yeah.
rock fans in the world. But for me, like Anthrax, I knew it was a band and stuff for years, but they really like the 9/11 shit really did a lot for them and also didn't at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
because that was like because everyone wanted to talk to them after that for some reason. Like it was like the MTV Where Is Ja Rule right now as the towers are falling down. It's like everyone started talking to Anthrax and like, and that's when they became like culturally in my realm. Like I already knew the music and I heard them as a band, but all of a sudden, like, there was another band. I didn't even know what Anthrax was. And all of a sudden it was like so taboo and like this like terrorist thing. And then it was the name of their band. I just felt like weren't they like getting just beat apart by Republicans and stuff? Like,
It's funny. There are more than a couple of bands that I really enjoy that have been ruined to a degree because of geopolitical forces.
Yeah.
Let's say, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like after 9/11, Anthrax. Oh shit, it's all scary and the terrorists.
It's like Marilyn Manson and Columbine.
Yeah,
right? Like,
Marilyn Manson and Columbine, and then I swear I've got to be on a FBI watch list because I'm a fan of the band called ISIS.
Oh yeah, you're telling me that.
Which broke up like before like ISIS, like the Islamic State, terrorists.
I mean, I don't know if you
got
ever
to steam, but it's like, shit, man. I'll YouTube like ISIS the band videos, and every time I'm typing it in, I'm going, oh, FBI, they know it. They know me.
Well, I always thought it was funny, like on Archer. I don't know if you watch that show. Archer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's their whole thing is called ISIS and stuff like that. Yeah. Fuck ISIS.
Yeah, fuck ISIS for ruining our good time. But no, so Anthrax came out. They knew what the crowd wanted, and to your point, and kind of dipping back into a little bit of that pre 9/11. The second time I saw Anthrax was at the Aragon, and it was Anthrax, Primus, and Public Enemy.
Yeah. Your typical lineup, right?
So and then a deep cut. I believe the opening band was the Young Black Teenagers. With their big hit at the time was that Crack the Bottle and Twist the Cap.
What the fuck? All right.
But yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to be jamming out to the classic Anthrax track Indians, which is the namesake of this War Dance Pale Ale that we're fucking jamming out to today. So I think it all kind of comes back together.
Yeah, it's all synergistic right now, man. We're getting it at the Steve Breit Rock Discovery Show. This is Mild Sauce Radio, and we're about to jump into Indians by Anthrax.
Let's do it. Sauce live Sundays, and we're back, and we were just jamming out to Lamb of God. That was a track called Ruin off of As the Palace Burns, and then before that we heard the classic Anthrax Indians off of Among the Living. So, you know, like I said, Anthrax was great. They played, I think, like 7 songs, the majority of which was off of that album Among the Living. So, I mean, that's their huge... That's their big breakthrough record. And then they did a little bit off of Persistence of Time. I think they did a little bit off of Spreading the Disease, but they knew what the crowd was there for. They knew what the fans wanted to hear, and they delivered in spades.
Was this also one of the shows that you were like one of the younger people at?
You know,
what was the last show you talked about with that?
Yeah, definitely. I am in the habit of seeing bands. You know, I've gotten to a point in my life where I've blown it on a few shows, and some of the big ones that stand out for me that, like, you know, I was like, oh, and I've done this so many times over the course of my life. I'm like there's so many shows I regret.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's a given. I mean,
you
know about enough shows, you're gonna regret them eventually. Right?
I mean, I think back, and I may have told this story before, but like, I get a call from my buddy Jeff. And he was a pizza delivery guy back when we were in high school, growing up on the South Side. And he calls me up and he's like, "Hey man, you want to go to the Metro tonight? Nirvana is playing." And we were fans of Nirvana like before Nevermind came out, when Bleach came out. You know, we were into that whole Sub Pop.
Yeah.
You know, Mudhoney and Screaming Trees and you know, that whole Seattle sound kind of a little bit before it blew up. And he calls me up. He's like, "Oh yeah. Nirvana's playing the Metro tonight. You know, you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go. I don't have a car." You know, he's like, "I got a car, but I got to work till 10:30." And, you know, we debated, and we're like, "Well, all right, so you pick me up at like 10:45 or so. We get to the Metro. We'll be there by like 11. Actually, you know, 11:30 latest. how much of this show is actually going to still be going on? We'll catch it next time. And that turned out to be the show where it was Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Metro.
Oh, man.
So I blew that.
I think mine that I always think of is I was working for the Chicago Sun-Times. It was when the Congress was still open. It was like 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
I want to say the actual date was like December 19th, 2012. Like, I think I remember the actual date it happened. It was Kendrick Lamar was performing at the Congress, and he was like, this is like mixtape Kendrick, you know. Same thing with like how you just explained Nirvana. It was like the same way with Kendrick. Like, it was my favorite rapper. I was like, loved every mixtape, and I was like, damn, I got to do it. I'm emailing the Sun-Times like every 10 minutes, like, yo, trust me, this guy's gonna be a huge deal. This is like pre-Good Kid, Mad City, you know. Like, I'm like, he's gonna be a really big deal. We really should go and cover the show. Like, and I'm like blowing them up. They never sent me. They didn't like greenlight the show, so I missed it. It was November 23rd, 2012. That was the date. I missed that show, and like he released the album. I want to say midnight of that show. Or like that was the last show he did before he did. So it was like the last time you caught Good Kid. Oh my God, I'm still so salty about it. Yeah. Saying it now, I'm getting mad.
Oh yeah. You know, like other ones for me. James Brown played the House of Blues. I was like, man, that guy comes by like every 6 months. I'll catch him the next show. And he died like right after. And then the same thing with Johnny Cash. He played the House of Blues like a month before he died.
So if you're old and doing music, don't go to the House of Blues. Right?
Yeah, you're doomed. But, you know, more to the point where, like, you know, I will go see, you know, bands before they call it quits. And, you know, the worst, I think, in terms of, like, age disparity was Black Sabbath. That was a bad one. That was a weird one. That was a lot of... There was a lot of old bikers at that show. Rush was another one. It was a bunch of old fogies, and I was a young kid at that one. But no, this one was right in kind of my peer group. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah. I'd guess Slayer. You know. Slayer.
Yeah, I'd say like mid 40s to early 30s crowd. But you know, it was a great set, and you know, all good, and kind of like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Mars in the building.
Mars is in the house, getting ready for the next show. But yeah, it was a really good set, and swinging back to what we were talking about, you know, Anthrax was great. They fucking performed awesome. Lamb of God, I've seen them a few times, and this was the tightest that I've seen them. And they're a band that is known for, you know, stop on the dime changes and very, very cohesive kind of, you know, choreography with the music. It's very timed tightly. It's a very crisp set, and the show that they put on at this set was amazing. It was the tightest. It was the quickest. It was the most on point I've ever seen them, and they were a band that I was really into, you know, in the early 2000s, late 90s, and over the course of their career, I think they've loosened musically and gotten a little bit more flowy rather than the very tight crispness that we heard on that track that they were playing. And it was good to see, you know, that stop on a dime, just tight performance. They were really fucking good. And, you know, that leads us into the headliner. So Slayer was fucking great. They put on, like I said at the top of the episode, they played at least one track off of every album that they've ever released.
That's crazy. How many albums do they have out?
Between 15 and 17, 18. I mean,
That's a lot of music to play.
Yeah, it was a robust performance on, you know, the classic albums, you know, Hell Awaits, Rain and Blood. They played like 3 or 4 tracks off of those, but like I said, they really kind of gave a retrospective of their careers, and it was cool. It was very cool.
It's kind of what you want to see from a band like that at that point.
And as always, you know, they're one of those journeyman bands where, you know, they will they will give the crowd what they want to hear. They don't fucking slack. They come out, they perform, they put their heart into it. And the track we're gonna hear was it was a track that I really wanted to hear them play, but they didn't fucking play it.
So here we go.
So here we go. And oddly enough, so this album was released on 9/11.
Damn.
So it is the track we're gonna hear.
Odd amount of references to 9/11 for this episode.
I know, a lot of weird references back then. But this is a track that I thought was eerily, it was foretelling, I suppose. So we're going to listen to the track Payback. And like I said, listening into this song in the context of hearing it right after the towers fell, I mean, it had an added prescience to it.
Damn. Maybe Slayer knew something we didn't.
Yep. So let's get into it. Let's jam out some Slayer.
We got Payback by Slayer on Mild Sauce Radio. This is the Steve Breit Rock Discovery Show.
Back. Mild Sauce Live weekends. We're just jamming out to fucking classic Slayer Payback off of God Hates Us All from 2001. Crazy.
Intense, yeah.
Crazy fucking song. And like I said, man, I had gotten an advance copy of that album a couple weeks before 9/11. But like I said, like that fucking that track was released like the day the fucking towers fell. And just listening to the lyrics of that song, I felt was it's definitely stuck in my mind. You know what I mean? It's definitely a prophetic song.
Very fucking weird, yeah.
But no, like wrapping it up, all fucking good. It was really cool to see them one last time. And, it was one of those things where it's been in the metal, heavy music world for so long. Like, it occurred to me as I was like going to take a leak and, running out from my pavilion seats out to the bathroom and going to the bathroom, and as you're like running out there, you're just hearing like the random like shouts of Slayer in the crowd. And that's just something you're not going to hear again. You're not going to be able to experience again. So it was cool to check it out one last time before they wrapped it up, and it was good to see them wrap it up before they got too long in the tooth. A lot of bands don't know when to mosey off into the sunset.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
real.
think they did a good job with it. But, wrapping things up, I wanted to reiterate. So July 12th, Demo's Pizza. There's the Pure Joy fundraiser with Choked Up, Melanin, Pledge Drive, and Molcajete. That's going to be a great show. I'm definitely going to try and make that one, but it's been a heavy month on concerts. So
Yeah.
I think the show I'm going to tomorrow night is the fourth one this paycheck. So my
This
bank
paycheck.
account is like looking at me with fucking.
You gotta start getting those press
daggers.
passes, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Got to work something up. But then additionally, the next night, July 13th at Chi-Town Football, we've got Alice Bag with Feruza Bruta, Primitive Teeth, and much more. That's going to be a great show. Be sure to check that out. That I feel like is going to be, just really good for the fucking punk history. Just not even in Chicago, but just American punk roots. That's what's going to be going on July 13th at Chi-Town Football. So make sure you check that out. That's going to be fucking awesome. As always, shout-outs to the backcourt. Shout-outs to Mars, Police State. All the fucking badass mild sauce fucking content that comes up on the weekends, man. Check that shit out. We're going to be here. You can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Collarbone666. I post all my show photos and everything like that, so you'll be able to get some sneak peeks of upcoming episodes.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about a lot of live shows in the city. I've been seeing a lot of shows this month, so we're going to be chatting about all of it in the upcoming episodes. And then what else we got, Jake?
You can keep an eye out for these episodes going live on Instagram TV very soon. New way to watch on top of watching on YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, anywhere else you guys are trying to get your fix in for new content from Mild Sauce. Other than that, we got some events coming up soon, all under wraps for the moment. But we got Mars coming on here next. And then later this week, we got the Stay Low podcast with a very special guest. So we're looking forward to that as well.
Excellent. So be sure to check out what's going on Mild Sauce. It's kind of hot.
It's kind of hot.
It's poppin'.
Fuck yeah. So we're going to go out with a Chicago band that they have broken up a few years ago. They are no longer in existence. So if you had the opportunity to check them out, it was a spectacle. They're a band called He Who Corrupts. If you have seen them, their whole shtick, and it's funny, I think about it now, and it's He Who Corrupts, one word. They were like ahead of the hashtag game, like years before social media. And they had their shit down, and they didn't even know it. But their whole shtick was they'd come out in like suits, 3-piece suits, and have like office paperwork, and they'd come out and like throw office paperwork at the crowd and be very like Office Space, like lumber.
That's pretty great.
But by the end of every set, they were all naked. So, like, over the course of the set, they'd, like, shed the suits, and it was a complete spectacle. I think every once in a while they will do the rare reunion performance. I believe the last one was at Reggie's.
Get the suits back out.
Yeah, exactly. Pull the suits back out only to take the knock off. But, definitely, if you see they're going to be playing a show, something absolutely worth checking out. They were a Chicago gem for several years. I started seeing them in the early 2000s. I believe their last show was around 2011, so it's been a minute since they played. But, it's always good to bring back that Chicago DIY roots.
100%.
So we're going to be checking out She's a Fire Engine from He Who Corrupts off of 10 Steps to Success. And we will see you next week.
Yeah, this has been the Steve Breit Rock Discovery Show, episode 21. 21.
Metal Thrashin' Mad.
Metal Thrashin' Mad. And my name is Jake Krez. I'm the help on the back end. And we're Mild Sauce Radio, man. We're going to be back next week. But for now, here's the new one, or the old one.
Yeah.
From He Who Corrupts, She's a Fire Engine.
Yeah, until next week. Cheers.
It's kind of hot.
Since I started working, every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it. So that means that every single day that you see me, that's on the worst day of my life.